Episode 2 of Just the Thought podcast, Queen of Resilience. I know I took up the whole intro, right? I'm your host, Q Talks.
I'm Ashton.
And I am excited about this episode because, of course, we get to celebrate women.
You know, it's Women's History. Women's History Month. Let's celebrate women this month, and there's definitely a lot to celebrate with, especially our co-host.
Yes.
And our two guests today.
Well, maybe 3. She may be on her way. She's trying her best to make it over. But our 3 guests today, supposedly. The first one, which should be on their way, is Brendel Logan Charles. She is the deputy supervisor of the town of Ramapo. And our second guest
is Natalie Gladden Matthews.
Nicole Gladden Matthews.
Oh, yes, Nicole Gladden
names.
Matthews. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. She is our legal counsel here with the Spring Valley NAACP, as well as she holds many hats in the community. So we'll be looking forward to that. And our third guest
is Natalie Riobi. So she is also someone who holds many hats in the community. Many Nyakers may know her. But she also is the founder of For Our Kids New York.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that when she steps in.
But before we get the show started, because we had so many glitches last episode, no, I'm not going to say so many because we've gotten a lot better. We only had one glitch. One. So this episode, we're not going to have any, right, Woody and Joseph? Yeah. But no, we've been working greatly behind the scenes to get everything ironed out, get all the kinks, and thank you to Woody and Joseph as always, because without them on our team, we wouldn't be here. And of course, our missing people in action, Scott, Talad, Max, Majin. Without you guys, this show would not be a show. So, without further ado, the reason why we need to re-show this clip, this video, is because we had a little glitch. It kept glitching and it kept going slow, and it was really important, this documentary that Max Garcia created. You want to speak a little bit about it before we show it?
Definitely. So a little bit like last episode, we're going to drop this video for you here. It was about Mount Moore Cemetery, and again, like I said, Nicole, she holds many hats in the community, so she actually sits on the advisory board for the cemetery, so she can tell you a little bit about that as well when she comes and steps on stage. But our film, and Max Garcia's film rather, is about Mount Moore Cemetery and shining a little light on this hidden gem that we have here in Rockland.
Yeah, many of you guys may not know, it's right there in the Palisades Mall. That cemetery we've always seen, they probably thought, hey, what is that? Well, it's for Black veterans. It's a cemetery for us. So, all right, let's check out the video by Max Garcia.
To know, do you know about Mount Moore Cemetery?
No, what is it? Whoever is in charge of that did a good job of covering it up because I never even heard of that. I don't know nothing about it though.
Not even the name?
Not Darkbird. No.
Do you know about Mount Moore Cemetery?
No, I don't. Update me.
Nestled within these hollow grounds lies the echoes of the past, where time stands still in the embrace of Mount Moore Cemetery. Cemeteries were segregated in America until the mid-20th century. Even Black veterans of America's armed forces were dishonored when buried. Today, Mount Moore Cemetery stands as a monument to the twisted logic of racial segregation. But the cemetery of approximately 100 veterans and civilians also serves as a symbol of perseverance and defiance. On July 7, 1849, James and Jane Benson sold the land to William H. Moore, Stephen Samuels, and Isaac Williams, Board of Trustees of the Mount Moore Cemetery. The land was considered sacred ground to the black community in Rockland County. That was until it became profitable. I imagine that these black soldiers would have thought that in death they would have eternal peace. But here they are still fighting beyond the grave against a giant. And that giant happens to be one of the largest mega malls on the East Coast. Owned by Pyramid Company, the mall now has approximately 20 million shoppers per year. But let's take it back to understand how all this happened. So we're headed to the Martin Luther King Center in Spring Valley, New York, to talk with someone who knows all too well about taking on a giant. So what's your name and your title here?
Willie Trotman, and I am president of Spring Valley branch at the NAACP.
Willie Trotman was also president of the Spring Valley NAACP when they won a landmark case of racial discrimination against the East Ramapo Central School District. What's the story with the Palisades Mall in connection to the cemetery?
So as the story goes, one Saturday, people from Pyramid Company came and had breakfast with Dave Smith and Hezekiah Easter, who was a legislator at the time.
Hezekiah Easter Jr. is not only a social justice activist, World War II veteran, but the first African-American police commissioner and elected official in Rockland County under the title of Deputy Mayor and Board of Trustee member in the village of Nyack. Whether it was the soldier in him or the social justice activist at heart, Hezekiah Easter Jr. is the one who led the charge against the giant.
When I became president in 77 until about 87, 10 years later, the Pyramid wanted to buy that cemetery area because they had made a deal with Tom Dexter and bought all the properties around it, and they were going to put this large mall in this $200 million mall. So they approached the Cemetery Association to see if they could buy the cemetery plot because they wanted to move. They said they were going to move the cemetery from there to another position, or maybe about a quarter mile away. But we decided that that was sacred ground. You couldn't really move those graves in. They'd been there for years.
The Palisades Mall would have that entire area. And they said, no, that area flooded. And it was a great choice. It was a wise choice because even today it floods. Really, really bad floods.
Countless hours spent of digging up public records, calling local officials, and negotiating with the Pyramid Company, Hezekiah Easter Jr. and the other board members finally got the historical landmark certificate, which was a big win. This not only means that a black cemetery will be recognized on a public stage, it means this land will not be able to be dug up or moved by anyone. As we continue our journey through time, our investigation took us to Nyack Public Library to uncover some hidden gems. The recorded presence of African Americans in Rockland County began at the same time that the Europeans arrived in the region. African slaves, free blacks, were part of the Dutch community that settled here in 1687. According to the census records from 1723, nearly 1/5 of the 1,244 inhabitants of the county were African slaves.
And so from that time on, it was utilized as the colored cemetery because of segregation, etc. Back during segregation, remember black people were not allowed to be with white people. So they were their own regiment, and that's where they come up with the 9th and 10th Cavalry. They were at West Point. So the guys that we knew, one lived in Spring Valley and one lived in Highland Falls. We found that a lot of veterans are in the cemetery, a lot of people from the surrounding areas in that cemetery.
With further research, we were able to find some of the prominent figures buried here. The cemetery holds Civil War veterans like Logan Lafayette, who was part of the first all African American 54th Regiment based in Massachusetts. which was also honored with the film Glory, an Academy Award-winning film starring Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman. It also holds Spanish American, World War I, World War II, and Korean War veterans like Henry Cook Jr., who died in combat and attended Nyack High School, and Hezekiah Easter Sr., who was Hezekiah Easter Jr.'s father, which is also why this land was so personal to him. On March 13, 2007, Hezekiah Easter Jr. was laid to rest beside his brother and father. The man who saved the cemetery is the last man buried in Mount Moore. A parking structure and the facade of box stores loom in the distance, held at bay by a soldier and statesman who will forever keep his silent and solemn vigil over these hallowed grounds. With the mall facing some financial struggles, cracking foundation, and the vandalization of the cemetery, it seems as if these black souls buried amid the brick and mortar are crying out for justice. Because if the Pyramid Company developers had their way, this sacred burial ground would have been destroyed. But within the darkness, there is light, with a few locals forming the Mount Moore Cemetery Association of Friends. They're able to continue on what Hezekiah Easter Jr. was doing and take care of this historical landmark of a black cemetery. We also decided to highlight some black-owned businesses inside the mall to highlight these hidden gems, but to also inform them of this black history.
How are you? My name is Dee, and I'm the managing partner of Red Craft in the Palisades Mall.
Name's Miller. Co-owner of New York is the nationality. Rockland native, you know. Got the store. My boy right here, Gangster. Feel me? Started a brand up in the town. Now we got a store. Started from the bottom, now we here. Come support us. 3rd floor. Palisades Mall. Right next to Charlie's. You know where the... What's your name?
My name is Manny. Our brand, New York is a nationality. We've been doing this for 6 years. Rockland County, New York.
So you guys have a local business, you know, young guys started up. Glad to see you guys are in the mall now.
Thank you.
So where do you guys see your business, you know, in a couple of years growing and expanding?
Definitely growing and creating a bigger community, because I feel like we've been able to do that for the 6 years that we've been doing this. So definitely just be more part of the community, expand into other areas in New York.
Hello, how are you? What's your name?
Hi, my name is Chad. How are you?
I'm good. And where are we at right now?
Palisades Mall. Like almost, this is my store. Time to close.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like, you know, you almost want to close, feel free to come by. Dollars to help, you know, renovate it after they found out what happened. You know, because, you know, we got to support our black people. We see black business here. So, you know, that's just... So it's like a monument. Just like the cemetery braving the storm of injustice and erosion, we must all stand fast and stand strong for what's right. Now I know about Mount Moore Cemetery. Now I know about Mount Moore Cemetery.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that the mall is finally doing their part and acknowledging the cemetery, because that's very important, especially because they're veterans and African-American minority veterans. So as long as the mall continues to do their part, it makes us very happy to be a part of Palisades Center. Now I know about Mount Moore Cemetery. Spread the word.
If you don't know where you've been, then you don't know where you're going. In order to know where you're going, you got to know where you've been. And so, and I guarantee you, if most of us look back in our history, we can find somebody that we can be very, very proud of, and that go like, yeah, you know. And it makes you hold your head up.
And I'm sorry, I got so caught up in the video. Wow, that was an amazing video. Are you guys, what did you guys think about that? Natalie just really took me off guard. But what did you guys think about that? Especially with many people not knowing what or who Mount Moore was.
So I was glad to see the video. I actually sit on the advisory council for Mount Moore Cemetery. And so I am happy to see that you guys are airing something that's educating the broader community, because until I got involved, and I was asked by Willie Trotman, the president of the Spring Valley NAACP, to come and help out with resurrecting an organization that dates back a number of years. But I had no idea. I passed by that cemetery all the time, and I had no idea of its historical significance for our community. So I'm happy to see you guys getting the word out.
That's the job, Community Conversation Podcast. We're doing the job. Well, for those who do not know who you are, this is the time we start to introduce our guests. Would you kindly, Nicole, please tell everybody who you are and what you do? And do you work for AT&T?
I do. Don't have any information about the outage. But I am Nicole Matthews. I am, as Q said, an attorney with AT&T's legal department and have been for a number of years. And I also volunteer quite a bit here in the county. I'm the vice president of Head Start of Rockland's board of directors, and I am legal redress counsel, one of 2 lawyers for Spring Valley NAACP, who helps with community complaints and issues of discrimination as they arise.
Oh, don't worry, we got some more conversation talking about discrimination
I
complaint.
bet.
But Natalie, would you mind telling everybody who you are and what you do? And for our NIAC viewers, I know they're watching.
Oh, okay. So, what's up, NIAC? All right, so Natalie Riobe Taylor. I have to pronounce my name correctly.
Yes, Taylor.
Riobe was first.
Oh, Riobe Taylor.
Born Riobe, hyphenated the Taylor as an add-on. Outside of the sector of education, I am NIAC's, one of the NIAC's newly elected trustees. Yes. I am in the world of education, early ed. So NIAC has started kind of tugs at my heartstrings. I'm a founder of a nonprofit in the community called For Our Kids New York, and I'm all about service.
Yes, you are, and that she is. I know that we have a lot of burning questions, especially Ashton has some questions. But before we get into that, we have our Artist of the Week.
Definitely. So we have our Artist of the Week, Words by Faith. She is a well-versed poet in the community, has performed at multiple venues, including SOBs. And it is definitely our pleasure to have her back here with the Spring Valley NAACP once again, as she's performed at our candlelight visual services and multiple services and events for us. So we're going to tune in with Words by Faith in just a moment.
I'm so excited. All right, you guys, let's listen in.
We're gonna lift.
And sit smack dab in the middle.
We're gonna stay over here.
Yeah, you can sit.
Do you want me to move? You want me to move this?
No, you can sit on something. Okay. All right, so the frame is still the same, your knees up.
Hi everybody, my name is Imani Aisha and I go by Words by Faith. I'm a spoken word poet from New York. I'm proud for it to be Women's Month #1. There's so much that women have done for centuries and centuries, and it's great to be recognized. So I have a poem that I love to perform everywhere I go, and it's about women and just the strength of women, and this poem is called Dear Queen. Dear Queen, we may not meet for years to come, but I just want you to know a few things. Little reminders along the way with all of life's ups and downs, the things that you may face, dear Queen. Made perfectly imperfect in the hands of God, molded in his image. Learn to ignore the negative views, let them crumble and diminish. Never let anybody disrespect you or call you anything other than your name. They should be ashamed to call you anything other than beautiful, gracious, fine, divine. Those that hate, let them watch from the sideline. Always remain modest, yet sexy, articulate, and well-spoken. Many can't stand to see a brown or black woman who stays woke and making more money than most of her counterparts. See, queens. I think they forget that we came from the stars. We've been amazing from the start. See, we've came from a bloodline of women of African descent, from the Underground Railroad, Civil Rights Movement, voting. They were our first connects. Maya Angelou, Daisy Bates, Harriet Tubman, just to name a few. Many thought they wouldn't succeed, and they defeated them. Against all odds, they moved mountains and broke ground that even earthquakes couldn't shake. Ladies, we are queens. Don't ever confuse your net worth with your self-worth. You're worth more than your weight in gold. You couldn't have enough foes that could bring you down with all the weight of light that you shine on this earth. Queen. Learn to stand up, speak up, let your voice be heard. Remember, we have to work twice as hard for everything we earn. Ladies, I repeat, we have to work twice as hard for everything we earn. We don't have to be like to be respected, but keep your heart protected and be open to love. We weren't created to be alone, but remain headstrong. Don't let the private parts of you alter your decisions. Let that man or woman miss you. Give them something to look forward to. Keep them on a mission. You'll learn that sometimes you have to love people from a distance, but stay out your feelings. And most importantly, wake up and thank God every day for the air you breathe, because he didn't make any mistakes with you or with me. Always remain true. Continue to be you, because this world needs you now, ladies. Needs you now more than ever. And for always and always, you will forever be a queen. So that is one piece that I love so much. And as a poet, I love to write about different things. And with Black History Month being last month, February, there is a poem that sticks out to me a lot. I actually performed it for the Spring Valley NAACP at George Floyd's Memorial a few years back, but it's a poem that is dear to my heart. So I'm also going to recite that one for you. And it's called Just for Being Black. My mother used to tell me usually nothing good happens after midnight, but these harsh nights turn into rainy and sunny days. Boys hardly becoming men these days. Hugging and holding on to blocks that never gave them love in the first place. But see, some felt like the block was home, because when home never gave love, the block was there to welcome them back in with open arms like families did. Never thinking they'd leave again. See, let's not forget, like it's the Lord's job to keep our people safe. Nowadays, we're getting killed by bullets that seem to have our names engraved like our tombstones were already made. trying to wipe us out. There's so much bias policing when they see black and brown skin. My question is, why are you so terrified of us? Does our melanin upset you? Because all we ever did was be black and he had no gun and you still shot him in the back. Looking like we have imaginary guns that only come out in Toy Stories and video games, except unlike video games, this is real life and you don't get any more chances or lives. And Jesus paid the price, but modern crucifixions still happen every day. Having loved ones left to pay for funerals of children that should have been burying their parents instead. I am so sick and tired of doing a head count of all the black men and women who are dead due to the hands of police that claim they want to serve and protect but end up killing innocent souls over and over again. I can still hear my mother's voice saying, Imani, there's usually nothing good that happens after midnight. And she was right, reminding me that when sun rises and dusk falls, we can all lose our lives in plain sight, just for being ourselves, for being innocent, and most importantly, just for being black. Thank you.
I think you gotta come here, Ashton, you have a friend.
I want to say I started writing maybe at the age of 6, 7, or 8. And I think I started my first gig, maybe I was about 14. And my first paid gig was at 19. So yeah, a while, yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us where you've been and what you've been doing?
Yes. I honestly travel and perform all over the world. A lot of schools, a lot of colleges. I'm actually doing a special with iHeartRadio coming up in about a month or two, which will be exciting. I do still have a book on the way, and I know I've been saying that for a while. Life has gotten in the way, but that is happening as well. And performing at colleges and schools and just inspiring the youth, inspiring others to just do what they love in their craft. And I really have to give a major shout out to my parents, my father especially, for just always pushing us to write everything that we did, everything. Everywhere we went, he always encouraged us, we'll write about it. And I think that's what set the tone for me to be the poet I am today.
That's amazing. And they start journaling at the
yeah.
All of a sudden you're a poet traveling. So for those who want to continue to follow and travel with you, where can they find you?
Yes, I will hopefully have a YouTube channel soon, but you can definitely find me on IG, Words by Faith, and my book will be coming out. Definitely follow me for future performances, and my YouTube channel should be out in about the next month or so.
Hold on, the fact that you say you don't have a YouTube channel 2024?
Well, right, well, I am on other people's YouTubes, but I don't have my own yet. Yeah, so I am on there, Words by Faith. You will find me on there, but not under my own channel, so I'm working on that currently as well.
Okay, so we'll look out for it. So you guys be sure to follow Words by Faith. Well, we're about to get back into our guests and ask our burning questions.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm excited.
Always.
I appreciate seeing you guys. Yes,
we want
absolutely.
you to join in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you can chime in.
Absolutely.
But
hopefully you make it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Thank
another
you for
one.
having me. Yes.
So again, be sure to follow Words by Faith.
Yes.
With an S at the end of words.
Yes.
Yes.
Words by Faith.
All right, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you, Imani. All right, you guys, we are here with our guests. We are back with our guests, ready to have the conversation. All right, Ashton, I'm gonna let you start the conversation. I always start, but I know you have some burning questions, so I'm gonna let you start.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I'm gonna start off with where you guys started off. Where did you guys get your education? Where did you guys go to school? Where did you guys grow up? Let's talk a little bit.
I'll start. So I was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but I moved to Atlanta and when I was 5 years old. So I'm an Atlanta girl. My dad will be unhappy to hear that, but Atlanta raised me. So I went to elementary school, high school, middle school, all in Atlanta. I went to college at Georgia Southern University.
Wow.
And then I came up to New York for law school. I went to Pace Law School.
Nice.
How did you end up in Rockland?
That's a good question.
How did you end up?
Long story, but essentially I got a job after law school and decided to stay in New York, and I stayed in Manhattan for quite a while when I was working in private practice. And then I got married, and I was tired of living in a post office box. And so we had some friends who lived out in Rockland, and we had come out to visit and really liked the area, and we eventually ended up moving here. So we were introduced to it probably about 3 years before we actually pulled the trigger and moved. And we've been here ever since. And now I'm so entrenched that I'm a Rockland person.
A Rockland.
So,
I was saying it took 3 years to take that real.
Well,
that sounds about correct though, because to come from Atlanta to come to Rockland County, so far-fetched.
Yeah, suburb to suburb. And so most people in Atlanta are really on the outskirts of Atlanta.
OTP.
Right.
On the
outside the perimeter. Outside the perimeter, exactly. There was a song a few years back about you're not really from Atlanta. That's actually I fall into that category.
Yeah.
Are you from Atlanta?
His family,
but
so he would
okay.
Georgia people.
I got you, so you know. Okay.
Well, Natalie, tell us, where are you from?
Right here. Right here.
So tell
I
us
am
your
born
journey.
and raised in Nyack, New York. I ventured because that's what kids do, right?
You're supposed to.
I ventured. So I went to Nyack High School. That's what the question is. I went to school throughout here in the county, and then I joined the military.
Really?
I did. And that, that was my first peak of like, ooh, life, right? Meeting different people, etc. So I did the unconventional stuff. So I graduated Nyack High School early. So I went to RCC, and there's a good friend of mine that really wanted to go into the military, but she could not meet the height weight requirement. So I worked out with her, and then I kept on going with her so that she could finally pass. And I kept on going, and I didn't realize that she stopped. Yes, I did not realize she stopped. And there's this, the military has like this thing that you have to swear it a few times before you actually are part of, United States government property.
Interesting.
They don't tell you that. They kind of tell you the first time you do it, you're in.
You're stuck.
Oh yeah. If I knew that, I would have stopped. I'm like, so at the third time, that's when you really are United States government property. So I kept on going, thinking that she would finally catch up. Then I realized,
she stopped.
She stopped. She completely stopped, and I was in. And so I took education a different route. So I did RCC for a little bit before, and so I was backtrack. I was National Guard, so I was not full active Army. You only do that for training. So I was part-time, and part-time during the I guess non-summer months. Then you do like a 2 months full active. That's how that works. And so I did the non-traditional way of getting education online, etc. So I bounced from different schools that way. Then I finally finished online, SUNY Empire. And so that's how I basically ventured into the world of education, and I've had the blessing of working under, I think most Rockland people know who Dr. Edmund Gordon is.
Of course.
And so I worked for Dr. Gordon for a long time, and if there's one thing that he's going to kind of hone in on is education. And so he's just like, it does not matter what you get your degree in, just get a degree. And, you know, it sounded daunting, and he was right. You know, and I say that not lightly. I think everybody needs to, you don't have to be an expert, you know, that's not your route. But get, you know, just, I guess, find something to master in. You know, just keep learning, right? You don't, and so I think that's where most of us kind of fall like, oh, you know, I stopped after high school. That's okay. Get a certificate. Just keep, you know, sharpening yourself. And look, and most employers now don't even require a 4-year, right? Google doesn't. Yeah. But, you know, but you just have to find where you are, that niche, and just kind of just keep sharpening your skills.
Yeah, constantly. That's a good one. I always tell everyone you gotta have a learning spirit, because if you don't, then that's when you lose, because you're always going to keep learning.
Right.
That's really good. Okay, I like that. Well, now that we know how you ventured into leadership, having such a grand mentor behind you. Oh, seriously. I would have been a leader after him as well. How did you, Nicole, venture into leadership in Rockland County?
Through the NAACP, really. I started my work experience here in Rockland at the Center for Safety and Change, which at the time I was there, it was Rockland Family Shelter, and I was the advocate for the African American community. And so in my role, I worked in conjunction with a lot of different organizations around the county. And so I got exposure to tons of organizations doing different work. And the NAACP was one of them. And the more that I interacted, the more I wanted to be involved and learn more about the issues here in Rockland County. And so I joined the NAACP, the Spring Valley NAACP, and started becoming more active. And then I was asked to be legal redress, on the head of the legal redress committee, or on it, and then eventually I became the chair. And so that's how I really got into doing social justice work here in the county. And then I was invited to other organizations through that, and have picked up a variety of roles. I'll just say that. Through that initial work with the NAACP.
I was like, well, that's a good segue for Ashton. You have education with Natalie, you have social justice with Nicole, and she talked about organization. What organization would you like to tap into?
I love the NAACP. Let me tell you, when you tap in with us, one thing we're going to do is we're going to give you work.
Yes, we will.
We're going to give you work you didn't think you could do. We're going to give you work you didn't know that you can do. We're going to give you, oof.
It goes to the learning, right? Yes. You continue learning.
Always.
Being that the NAACP definitely placed you in these positions of I guess you could say leadership for the legal redress, we have a huge mission. I guess you should say the young adult committee, which is tackling the school system within East Ramapo right now, right now, a lot of the issues involving the school district do directly affect a lot of our youth. What would you say, I guess, to the young women, I guess you could say, coming out of the East Ramapo School District? What would you recommend them to do, I guess, in terms of education, looking for opportunities, places where they can find that kind of mentorship, advice, in terms of moving on in life after high school, after East Ramapo, because they're leaving that up to us.
Yeah. So, what advice would you have for these ladies that are looking to be in these positions, because their resources are extremely limited, and we know that you as women, colored women, have been faced with many challenges yourselves. So, I guess before we jump into that question, we should ask, what challenges you guys have faced, and how did you overcome them, and what advice do you have for those East Ramapo students, especially the Lady Titans, that are facing such a grand challenge right now? I don't know if you heard the story, but them going to a basketball game and being thrown racial slurs Yeah. So the thing is, we know that you have women of color who are in grant positions have been, I know, faced many challenges, especially racial or maybe discriminatory challenges. So what challenges have you faced? How have you overcome them? And what word of advice do you have for those students who are currently facing challenges and don't know how to overcome them? It's a 3-part question, so we'll start with the first one. First one. What challenges have you overcome? I'll start with Natalie and then go to Nicole.
Okay, that's a loaded question within itself. So I guess most of the challenges that I've, overcame, when I do the air quotes, is usually gender issues and age. So for a very long time, I used to be the youngest person in the room when it came to different, boards, etc. I'm no longer in that role anymore. The grades are starting to pop up. But your voice is important. Yeah. Right? Your voice is important. And I remember working in the nonprofit sector, and I was a director in health and human services, like the OMRDD population. So I shouldn't say delayed, but developmentally disabled or differently abled population. So I'm a director for 2 group homes, and so this is a director's meeting, and our executive director said, "Oh, let the youngin say something." And I'm not only the youngest person in the room, I'm also probably the only Black person in the room, and I'm just like, oh God, right? So at that moment, you just felt the weight on the shoulders, like, okay. And then I had to say no, like forget it. I didn't even want to speak at that point, but it was just like they were looking at things just very one-sided, and it wasn't working, right? And so you had to say, well, have you ever tried it this way, right? And they all looked at us like, well, why would we try it that way? I'm like, well, the way you're trying it isn't working, right? So why wouldn't you try it this way? And long and behold, it did minimize the level of incident reports that we had to keep writing and issues with investigations and staff, etc. So for me, I think that we should always find your voice, and you have something to say. Don't ever let somebody take that away from you, because then it minimizes who you are. So it's hard. It's easier said than done. But finding that space, somebody that can advocate and be that shoulder to kind of push you over and tell you, hey, go ahead and do it, is always important. But standing on your ground, and that was probably one of the things I'm very happy that I had no issues. I can stand my ground. I can still stand my ground.
The proof is in the pudding. Right, incident reports lower.
But that's what it needs to happen. You're looking at the situation like, this is crazy. Where states being investigated, it's always something, and it's like, no, you're doing this wrong. So take a step back, figure out what you want to say, and articulate, and stand your ground.
Say it. So that's your step. Take a step back, articulate what you want to say, and then voice yourself and say it. So that's advice number 1, you guys. Take notes. All right, Nicole, tell us your challenges, how you overcame them, and what it was.
The challenges are really the same. It's very much age discrimination, being the youngest person in the room and being looked at as the kid on the team. But also being a woman and a minority is a double-edged, it's a catch-22 often. I've been mistaken for the client. I've been mistaken for the secretary. Everything but the attorney that's assigned to the case. So, but in those situations, I feel like often the best thing to do is continue to prove yourself, but also know that you're not going to break generations of systemic racism and systemic sexism. You have to work within the system to try to break those boundaries until there are more of us that look like us. Lift up the young people. Don't gatekeep power. I'm a firm believer in exactly what you just said. There is a need for fresh voices. Things get stale and old when you continue to do things one way, and you have to allow the next generation to come in, or your organization dies on the vine. And all the work that you put forth peters out, and there's no one to carry it on. So I would say the same thing: be firm, use your voice, but also choose your focus. It's very easy when you're coming out of school, especially, to want to tackle everything. You do everything. And you can broaden or shrink your focus as you move forward in your career or in your, I don't want to say extracurricular, but your side hustles, your other pursuits, and that you give time to. You can kind of manipulate what that looks like as you grow. But when you're doing something, give all of it your focus and don't get too distracted, because you will get burned out, and then all the work and service you could be doing suffers on the back end. So
Burnout has
pick
been
a
my
focus.
thing lately. Whew.
So talk about that burnout. How can the community support, I guess you could say, the young women going through this struggle or this burnout?
Yeah, one of the things that you did say, you said getting into the room and making that change, and I just feel I'm looking at Ashton because he's big on segregation. So getting into the room and making a point to make the change, it's how do you, I guess, adjust your attitude or adjust your anger from the let the youngin talk, or getting into the room and you're just like, oh, I'm so frustrated and hearing the nonsense that's going on. I'd rather quit and just do this myself. But knowing that it's better to be in the room to make the change. So how do you help, how do you make that decision to make that change? Like, how can I say it? I'm trying to find the right word, pardon. In terms of, how do you control your attitude? What's the right way to control your attitude, articulate things the right way?
You pause.
How do you pause?
Well, I might be the wrong one, because I don't have a poker face at all. So I think everything reads on my face. If I'm frustrated, you can see it a mile away. My husband can attest to that. But I will say that, you have to, like Ashton said, pause, because you're giving them what they want.
That's right.
If you are becoming angry, you're feeding into the stereotype that they already have of you. And so while you may have time today, you don't need to give that time to the anger. Your message is getting lost in the tantrum. And so I would say take a step back and figure out how you can best work in that organization to change, whether it be through a DE&I committee. And I'm not a huge fan of sensitivity training, DE&I quotas and metrics. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan at all, but because I think people are prone to go back to their beliefs. But I do believe that the conversation's not even being had if you're not in the room to say, wait a minute. And so I think it's very important to be in the room, but also be the rational voice in the room to convey why you're incensed about something. Still convey that you're incensed, but don't do it in a way that's going to detract from your message and just lead to, oh, she's just angry. Let's brush her off as an angry Black woman. Because so often we fall prey to that trope, and we have a right to be incensed. It's in the messaging.
What does DEI stand for
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, excuse me.
It's the latest diversity.
That's
before
it.
it was DEI, it was diversity and inclusion. Now it's expanded, but
and now it's equity.
That's right.
Now, what other advice would you have to say to add additional to being in that room when you don't want to?
Well, I think Nicole hit it spot on, but I'm going to go back to Ashton saying pause, right?
You scare people when you pause.
Yes, you do, because they don't know what you're thinking,
Scare
right?
people when you
But it's
pause.
also for you to regroup, right? You need to regroup, pull your thoughts together.
Yes.
There's nothing worse because I'm a very passionate person. I get that. I get it. I understand when you're just like, but come on. And you just want to get it. And you're like, why aren't you getting it? And sometimes they are. Sometimes they just want to see you unravel. Right? And what you look like when you unravel.
Yes.
Right? And so you always have to understand your audience and understand what exactly are you trying to deliver and portray. Right? And if, as passionate as you are, you need to be able to articulate it, right? And pause. And there's nothing better than killing somebody with niceness.
Oh, my mama always told me that.
Right? If you come at somebody head for head, honey, it's just gonna be ring after ring. If my mother used to say, it's the last thing that you say that somebody remembers.
Yep.
Right? And you can done curse somebody out. You're like, okay, sugar? Right? And it's not okay, sugar. And it's like, okay, I can't even be mad at her no more because she said okay, sugar. But the reality is, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. So pause, regroup, think about what you want to say. And sometimes you have to walk away and just say, I need a moment. Mm-hmm. Right? I need a moment to pull myself together. And you might not have to be able to answer it right now, but you can bring it back to the table.
Yeah.
You bring it back to the table. But going head for head and you're not going anywhere. It's not going to bring you to what the results that you would like to have.
Right. And that's not to say that if a situation is toxic that you shouldn't. Like you said, there are some situations where you feel like, should I leave and just do this myself? Sometimes the answer to that is yes. Mm-hmm. And you have to. But if you see that there's room for change and it's a company or an organization that you really want to be a part of, invest in the change and in your messaging.
I like this. So the advice that I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, first, you have to be in the room if you want to make change.
That's correct.
All right? So you have to be in the room. Second, pause. Something's irritating or you're going to say something you're not supposed to. Pause. I'm learning, you guys. Number 3 is you have to use your voice. If you don't say anything, then nothing will be done. Half the times they believe their truth unless you tell them they're wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You did it.
I like it. I like
Got
it.
it.
Take your notes, you guys. We are learning today with the women. So I do have questions. Who are the type of women? Who are the women that let you or empowered you to be the women you guys are in light of International Women's Month?
I guess I'll start. My mother and my grandmother, 2 forces that were placed on this earth, and they're both no longer with us. But those women were some powerhouses, and they drilled every fiber within my culture, my love for service, my love for humanity. These women were just powerhouses. They were the biggest hustlers I know. My grandmother did not have formal education, but you would never know that. She basically inherited my grandfather's wealth because he had his wealth from his family. But she multiplied that, right? So for somebody that was unable to read, she knew what the dollars were. She knew the that's right. But she also knew the importance of serving and pushing for education for her own children. And so that to me was, I would say education doesn't start at school; it starts at home, right? And so if you're educated correctly at home, the formalities of school, the formal education of school will always fall in. So that social emotional health that we all talk about in school, it's real. It's real because if you don't feel empowered at home, most likely you'll crack in school.
Yeah, that's good. I'm empowered at home, as you guys can see. Nicole.
The same, really. It's the maternal figures in my family. My mom, my bonus mom, my grandma, my great grandma, who was a tiny woman. She was 4'8", I think. On her tallest day, and she was a powerhouse. You would not mess with her, and she was my babysitter in my formative years. And so for my first few years of life, I picked up what I think is a lot from her, and now as an ancestor. But my mothers are very much responsible for my views on education and the importance of education. They're also responsible for not tempering down my dreams. That's a really important thing. I think a lot of times as parents, there's that desire to direct your kids in a certain way that you think they should go. And there was never that for me. It was always whatever you want to do, whatever you believe you can be, you can be. And get your education, and you can do that. And they're still like that. I was on the phone yesterday, and it was like, I was talking about being on this podcast, and it was like, well, you go. What's next, Mayor? I love it. Absolutely not. But the sky is always the limit in their view of what I can do, and I think that makes a huge difference for a child, and it's still making a difference for me as an adult. So
Absolutely. Wow.
it always starts in the home. And then obviously there are, legal powerhouses, civil rights activists, Ella Baker, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, legal powerhouses that Ketanji Brown Jackson that have been inspiring to me, a couple who I've had the opportunity to meet. So, but locally, I would say there are tons of women leaders who've inspired me. Frances Pratt is one of them.
My goodness, who doesn't know
And,
Dr. Pratt?
Miss Pratt. But even and the women in the Spring Valley NAACP who raised me up when I was coming into Rockland, not knowing much about it, taught me everything I know. So I definitely stand on the shoulders of a lot of different people.
That's dope.
That's I feel all the love.
She was here not too long ago.
Yeah, she was here. Miss Pratt was here. Shout out to Miss Pratt. Now, Ashley, I gotta ask you too. It's Women's Month. Who's the woman that you? I like how everyone.
Yes.
You on there.
Turns.
Wow.
I guess he didn't see that coming.
The whole cast.
Yeah,
Everybody.
everyone wants to know. Who do you honor?
Wow. Women's History Month.
Who have inspired you?
Who has inspired me? I have a lot of people in my life.
Okay.
My mom is absolutely amazing. She gets on my nerves all the time. there's not a
Miss
second.
Coleman, you watching?
Yeah. But every time that she does, I can't say that it's not a positive outcome for myself. So, thank you for getting on my nerves. I love you.
Cover that up.
The last thing you said, right?
Remember the last part.
But yeah, no, I got a lot of mother figures in my life, and a lot of people that definitely do have my back and are waving their fingers and congratulating me at the same time. So I do appreciate everybody and all of the criticism and the constructive criticism that you guys do have. So, happy Women's Month.
I guess we'll say thank you.
Thank you. I'll answer. Definitely same. My mother and my grandmother. I come from a Caribbean household, so they are the powerhouse. I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for them. Even if you do not have a penny in your pocket, my grandmother said, "You make sure you look like you have $1 million. Never look like we are problems ever." So because of that, I always stand with my chin up, and that allows me to walk through many rooms. So thanks, Mom and Grandma.
That's right.
But to end this conversation, my last question for you ladies is, how do you guys envision the future of leadership with the women in Rockland County?
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't see that kind of question coming. It's bright, honestly. And why I say this, we just recently elected, and she won, the first African American female legislator in the county. Yes. And so we're moving, the trajectory of moving forward, is positive. And I feel that we have so much more room to grow and to move in those directions. You want to empower as many people as possible to not only run for office, but do what makes you happy. Find your place, and rock out that way, right? Rock out. I mean, there's so much potential, so much growth, so much talent that's in this small little county called Rockland, right? But what's not necessarily missing, but I feel like there's a gap, is the mentorship.
Yeah.
Right?
She hit it right now.
And so, and I say that because I know working with so many different variety of groups and so many different organizations, I guess my ministry would be women and children, and so I love my kids, my teens in particular. And so you find these fresh, and I'm not going to call them kids, but these teens, or young adults coming into, and they're just missing that guiding force, right? But there's so many of us out here that want to be able to help, but just don't know how to do it, right? And so it's finding that connector, right? And sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to go through an organization. And you know, there's about 22, 23 nonprofits in this county, right?
Yeah.
Right? And
I have one too.
okay, 24, right? And so many of them offer that educational platform, that mentoring, but everybody wants their name in the spotlight. And that is probably one of the most frustrating things for me, when I'm just like, it's not about us, right? And it shouldn't be even about the organization that you're affiliated with. But just
the work you're doing.
It's just the work.
The work.
They the hammer and the nail is missing.
Right? Just the work. And so I think if we collaboratively just pull back and just zero in on what's important. And it would have to be the young adults. They are our future. You know, it's crazy that I used to be the young adult, now saying it, but the reality is if we really want to zero in, do it.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes, as a young adult, we don't necessarily know how to ask for help when we need it or know that we need the help. Right?
Sure.
As
That's
adults. Adults still struggle with that. So.
Yeah.
And so it's just finding a way to connect, and I do things crazy. Like I'm a mom of 3 boys, so sometimes dessert before dinner will get your kids' attention. Like, oh, they'll eat, right? They'll eat that. It's like, okay, now that I've given you what you want, I need you to eat this. And so there's no negotiation now. But sometimes we have to do the same exact thing with. It doesn't necessarily come sit in my workshop.
Yeah.
Right? If I just did school Monday to Friday and you want me to do school on Saturday, sometimes that's a little hard. But let's go bowling. Right? Let's go, do the fun stuff first. Now that I got you, we built that relationship. I can technically now, I'm almost positive, get you to do what it is that I know would be good for you, but you don't know it's good for you yet, type of setup. And I think that's what we're missing.
Yeah.
Right? We all have boxes that we want to check. But if we check it and still just add the fun part to it, you'll get so much more further. So I think that's really what's missing is the mentorship. And it's just finding ways to make that, come to life, to fruition is how we're going about it. Just a little off circle, just doing it differently.
I agree with you because I've been saying that for a while where everyone's trying to be in the forefront. I wish Brendel Logan Charles was here. She is my mentor and she has been my mentor since 2019. And she too, I didn't know. So you said something that a lot of people don't realize. You don't know what you need. Somebody else may see it in you. Right. And she has been the one who's been pushing more Rockland, pushing more Town Rample, teaching me more about the things in Rockland. And I didn't want to when I first came back. It was just more of just want to help East Rample, help the school have this little event, and then be out.
Yeah.
That was it. And then she was like, no, you're not going anywhere. You should learn this. She was like, I'm just going to teach you this. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but I'm just going to keep it. Every day, just something else calls me about something else going on in politics to tell me, all right, what did I tell you about the counties, the town, and the villages? How many villages we have? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And now I literally recited it today to my team. And
they're all nodding.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, she did. But yeah, so it's funny. You never know what you need until you need it. And now I'm a media chairperson for the NAACP.
Nice.
But didn't even know I was here. So yeah, you're
give
right.
you work.
They give you work. NAACP. But no, you're right. Mentorship is really something that's lacking, and everyone should stop trying to be the hammer and get some nails, as in Ashton's analogy. Nicole, what would you say?
I would echo the same sentiment. I mean, I think the future is bright. It has the potential to be bright. There are certainly dynamic young women all over the county in leadership roles already, quite frankly, especially with the issues with the East Ramapo School District. That have been engaged in marching and speaking to the legislature and participating in the lawsuits and that type of thing. But mentorship is the key. And it's a mentor, it's a sponsor, somebody who can get you in the rooms that you need to be in. The mentor, like you said, sees things in you that you may not, but they're there to guide you if you have questions because they've been through that same experience. And I would even say something that someone said to me was to have a personal board of directors who will, help you plan and make decisions for your life. And that could be your mother, like anybody who's accountability partners. Mm-hmm. It's friends, it's someone in your career path that you look up to. It could be anyone. But that is so important to get you in those rooms and to give you exposure or teach you the background. So that'll help lift you up. And I think, God takes us through things so that we're better positioned to serve. Mm-hmm. And so paying attention to the things that you're going through in life to direct your path of service. And then when you get there, committing to lifting up the next generation. I'm so big on that. And everyone has said it, but stop gatekeeping and stop keeping things the rigid way that you're used to them being because it's comfortable. Change doesn't come from comfort. Mm-hmm. And so really opening the door, swing these doors wide open to the next generation. That's the only way that change is going to continue to be fostered. So
and that's how businesses stay afloat.
That's right.
Exactly. And that's how more lives can be changed through service. So mentoring and opening the door. Kick the gates open.
Mentoring and kicking the door wide open.
Wide open.
You agree with that?
Mm-hmm. You have a choice.
I'm a little scared. I'm outnumbered here.
All right, ladies, so you guys have any final words to say before we end the conversation? Any last words for our viewers?
Well, I'm going to say congratulations to you. Mm-hmm. I believe you are currently or just finished Leadership Rockland?
Currently finishing June. Woohoo! A few more months.
And that is awesome because I think I did it last year.
Yes.
And so when you think you know enough about Rockland, you realize, there's so much more to learn, right?
Yeah.
Have you taken the?
I have not.
You should just look into it. I'm not telling you to, just dabble. You should too.
Yes.
But it's an awesome program, and so kudos Leadership Rockland. But there's, and I'm going to speak to our high schoolers that are hopefully watching. There is a Teen Leadership Rockland.
Yes.
And I encourage so many kids to do this. And it's not just to learn about where you live, but also it's a great little spin-off for all the ones that want to do anything beyond high school, right? Nice little resume builder. Mm-hmm. But the opportunities that come with that, the internships that come with learning who CEOs are for these organizations, etc. So I urge everyone who has not just to go ahead and look into what's happening in your community and take full flight of opportunities to basically get engaged.
That's amazing. I'm happy you brought that up. I actually just had a meeting with one of the presidents for Leadership Rockland, and she did mention how she wanted to get East Ramapo Central School students in there. And I told her that maybe we can work out something and offer a scholarship at the Back to School Festival, August 24th, you guys. Sorry about that. Do a scholarship for the East Ramapo students to be able to get there because they said they haven't had an East Ramapo student there in 17 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So every other school participates but East Ramapo Central School District. So I've been in conversations with them to try to get our students in there. Don't worry, we're working. You guys are passing the baton, and we're using it.
We are. It hurts to hear that.
Yeah, it did.
It's been numerous conversations have happened. BOCES, for example, is another sector that East Ramapo is not does not participate. Their coasters, etc. And so we have to do right by our kids.
Yeah.
Right, and that's to me, hands down, the biggest issue. Right, we're all working, we're all doing things. We're paying taxes. So if we're paying all these taxes and we're not doing right by our children,
utilize the services.
I don't know what we're doing. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's true. Well, I hope all parents out there watching, or students, which you guys are proxy buyers, where you guys could be able to tell all your parents about these organizations. They are actually really good. They offer scholarships for college, so you don't have to pay for many things in college, materials, food, housing, textbooks. Yeah, so, and additional to that, give you real life experiences that you're going to have to use anyway for school and you're going to need for your resume, so why not do it now while you're at home? Get the free service. One of the secrets that I learned, being in Rockland County, I never took advantage of the things in Rockland County because I always wanted to leave Rockland so badly. I traveled the world, y'all. I went to New York City, I lived in LA, I lived here, I lived in Atlanta, I lived in Florida, I lived everywhere just to come back home and literally have access to everything that I was striving for all over the world.
There is no place like home, literally.
Yeah.
Rockland is unique.
Yeah.
Oh, that it is.
It's unique.
Like Rockland.
Yeah.
That it is.
You don't find Rockland people anywhere. You can
Yeah.
spot them.
You can
All
tell
over
them,
the world.
you'll watch a movie and be like, that person from Rockland. But that's the end of your conversation. Now we are going to get into our current events with all of the things that happened in February and the things that are coming up for March. Are you excited to see what happened? A lot happened, you guys. It's more controversial stuff than like events. Oh boy, did you say oh boy? Oh man. All right, let's get to your current events, you guys.
February officially marks Black History Month in the U.S. It is one of the nation's oldest organized history celebrations, which highlights African American achievements and their role in U.S. history. It was started by Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history. Woodson noticed that African Americans and their achievements were excluded from books and schools in the early 1900s. The son of freed Virginia slaves, he earned a PhD in history from Harvard and came out with the idea of Negro History Week to encourage Black Americans to know more about their own history. In 1915, Woodson founded what is known today as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History to promote Black history. Woodson chose February for Negro History Week because it coincided with the birthdays of President Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, who escaped slavery and became a social activist. As celebrations were ongoing, Woodson promoted the week as a time to focus on African American history. The first Negro History Week was announced in February 1926. Negro History Week was widely successful, but Woodson felt more was needed. In the late 1960s, the civil rights and Black Power movements advocated for an official shift from Black History Week to Black History Month. In 1976, President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month, urging Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Each year, the theme for Black History Month is chosen by ASALH.
I was working with the NAACP, the Voters League, and other organizations trying to get people registered to vote and trying to do what we could against legally enforced racial segregation. We still have much more to do and much to encounter, and we will never have come as far as we should as long as there are people who are denied opportunity.
For the first time, the village of Nyack has put up the African American flags along Main Street, and then they will be along Broadway. The village board passed a resolution that they will put up the flags on the street lights in the village of Nyack.
We passed the resolution to have the flags flying to celebrate Black History Month. So I'm proud of that. If it's one of the first things we did officially as a board, as a new board in January, and as one of the first acts as mayor to do this, yeah, nothing could be more appropriate.
We'll stay up through the month of February for Black History Month.
What I can tell you is that the game was stopped in the fourth quarter by the girls' coach, who reported that racial slurs had been directed at his players from the stands. What emotions are you feeling now?
Sad, disappointed, angry.
Erland LaFontant and several players from the Lady Titans, a joint team of Spring Valley and Ramapo High School, still reeling from the taunts they say they received on Saturday during a basketball game at Scarsdale High School.
They were like, "You little N-words cannot play basketball" on the sideline.
That's what you heard, clear as day.
Clear. They called us the N-word, and then they called us monkeys on top of that, and then they were barking.
Barking?
Yeah. Like we were some type of animals.
Normally, games are locally live streamed, but the video from Scarsdale was taken down, and so far, no cell phone video has surfaced.
Yeah.
The girls' coach told me I had to pull my girls off the court, and we took a forfeiture because I would not subject my athletes to that unacceptable behavior any longer.
I know I may not look like it, but I am a man of color. I do not tolerate that.
You have to look past the color. You have to, even if I'm black, you're white, you have to look past that. I'm still human.
My name is Dejanay Buckley, and I proudly represent the Lady Titans basketball team. I wanted to share an unfortunate experience that my team and I experienced when facing Scarsdale B basketball team on the 10th of February of 2024. Me and my teammates are deeply saddened by the situation and would like the district to take the steps that are necessary to address the matter in a very methodical way. Thank you.
Among leaders that have done a lot in my community. I sit on the shoulders of many of you guys who are here. But everyone here, honestly, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I am. I do not stop bouncing. I will continuously keep calling you guys because we have grown from giving 300 book bags to now 5,000 book bags. For the toys, this year we gave away 5,000 plus we have about, I think, 600 toys left. We have about 10 bags of toys still left, so I will be calling everybody. I do still need more money for these toys and those supplies. We also do our turkey drive. This year we gave away 100 turkey. We want to give away 5,000 turkeys. I know they're expensive, but I need you guys. Everything else, honestly, thank you guys, all the nominees. This is amazing. I'm truly honored. Thank you very much. I am professional. And welcome back, you guys. There was a lot of current events that just happened. East Ramapo, Lady Titans, we're standing behind you guys. It's a lot going on. I know, as you guys saw the clips, Dejanay was speaking at the school board, trying to speak her truth, and we're still fighting the fight. And I say we because they done roped us in the NAACP, so we're still fighting the fight.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get done for you guys. So we'll check back in with the school district.
So first, we want to say congratulations to Nicole Hines, for absolutely being inducted into the Human Rights Hall of Fame. Congratulations!
Yes. So yeah, definitely congratulations to Nikki Hines. That's a huge accomplishment. As well as we have another person to acknowledge. That would be our co-host, or my co-host, Miss Q Talks over here. She was acknowledged by the Congress for her participation with Meet Next Gen and all of their attributions to the community, between their toy drives, their turkey drives, their back to school festivals, and everything in between.
We hear.
So, yeah, that was an awesome thing to see. Her getting an award for that, as well as she got this like really cool congressional
it's
I don't know, key
like a
to
coin or something.
Yeah, nice. That was cool.
He was. They call it a challenge chip or something. I want to collect them all.
That's a challenge right there.
There you go. And of course, we have to say happy birthday to Joseph, our audio tech guy. His birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, Joseph. So we have a cake in the back, and we're definitely going to sing happy birthday to him. Yeah, we definitely have to celebrate our team because, without them, there is no us. Look, Joseph. All right, now let's get down to the current events. Please, oh wow, we done have Brendel come in. Oh, we're gonna have to bring you in a second, but let's just get down to the final current events. Do you guys have anything that is going to be happening? Anything?
So again, I am working on an iHeartRadio special that should be out in about 2 months. Book's still coming out, and that YouTube channel is on its way. All right, Q, so it's coming. Thank you so much.
I'll be waiting for it.
Yes.
I actually always have something coming up. It is March, and I typically have my girls' tea, and so I will be reaching out to, I guess, you for East Ramapo to get some girls from there. Ooh. So my Nyack girls in North Rockland, you know who you are, but I will definitely be reaching out to East Ramapo so we can get some more girls to come out.
I've been to Natalie's event. I actually had to MC one of them, and they are so cute. It was a little pearls. All the girls had pearls, and the mothers came and gave their door. They put pearls around the door. It was so cute. It was like a pearling ceremony. Beautiful. Attend them, please. Yes.
Thank you.
Anything going on?
Not personal events for myself, but I mentioned my involvement with Head Start of Rockland. We do have our annual fundraiser coming up in June 8th. There'll be flyers and information out closer to the date, and we'll get that information circulated here as well.
Nice.
So we finally got our guest, our third guest. She finally made over. We're just going to have her try to squeeze in on the couch with you guys and just give a brief info. Come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in.
I'm going to have her sit right here. I'm already stuck here.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are you?
So this is Miss Brendel Logan Charles, my mentor. The women's couch. Now you're really outnumbered. Ashton's really outnumbered. I'm sorry.
I'm happy.
But just a quick intro. We are at the end of the show, but just tell everyone who you are quickly and what you do for the community. For those who do not know, I told already a little bit about you during the show and how you've been my mentor and have been drilling the town into me, even if I didn't want it. You secretly knew something about me that you saw something in me. So please let everyone know who you are and what you do.
So hello everyone again. I am Brendel Logan Charles, the Deputy Supervisor for the town of Ramapo. Thank you for inviting me. Always on the run, running from one meeting to the next meeting to the next meeting. So I realize now that I need to be able to, for those who are as old as I am, who is familiar with the Bewitched type of comedy series where you blink and you're there. I realize that traffic and highways and byways, I just need to be able to blink and and as you get a little older, driving at night is not optimal. So or a driver would be good, but I made it safely, so thank you. And yes, you are a star. You are a shining star. Young woman of color, very prominent, and gentleman, I must say. And it's incumbent upon us to pass the baton to the younger generation so you guys can continue the work. It was passed to me, and we look forward to passing it on, hopefully to you. But you're already on your way, surrounded by so much talent, so much education, so much strength for our community. And this is Women's History Month, so shout out to all the women out there. Yes. Young, gifted, and black. That was the theme when I was a kid, and that meant that we had to continue on to strive in honor of the ancestors whose shoulders we stand on to continue the work.
Yes.
So thank you for inviting me.
Do you have any events or anything coming up that you want us to be aware of?
I'm sure you already did all the events. There's so many things, but the three things that we always concentrate on is one, the back to school drive for kids. We concentrate on that constantly because we know in our marginalized communities that we have in Rockland County, we have some pockets of areas that need assistance. So that's a big event for us. Also, the Thanksgiving drive where we give out turkeys. It used to be back in the day we used to actually cook the food and serve the meals, and we hope to be able to do that maybe again, but that takes a lot of coordination and work, and that stopped after COVID. So we figured now we just give the basket, and folks, go and do what they have to do. And then of course the Christmas drive where we give out toys and clothes and food and anything that we can muster up over the year to make sure that families your kids get toys and families get whatever they need. And people are just very generous. So we thank all of you. We wish we could thank you individually. We just had an appreciation for those events.
Yes.
And we want to just continue to let everyone know, work still needs to be done.
Yes.
And so please help us if you can with whatever donations you can. But this podcast is just groundbreaking. It's information for all generations to just come out and all of us just pull together and do what we have to do for the community, our community, ending Black History Month and starting Women's History Month. Here to all the special women in this room and those out there watching tonight. Thank you for all that you do in your community.
She ended the show.
Seriously, I like it.
Perfect. Nope, you hold the mic.
You can
That
drop
is
that.
perfect. Yeah, just drop that after that. Well, you guys, that is a perfect way to end the show. Thank you again to all of our guests: Natalie Riobi Taylor, Brenda Logan Charles, Imani, Aisha, and Nicole Gladden Matthews. I had to make sure I get it. Ooh, that I remembered everyone. And of course, my co-host Ashton Coleman. And of course, my team. Thank you, of Woody and Joseph. We would not be able to have the show without you guys. And Piermont PAL. This show is powered by you guys. So, till later, till next month in April. All right. Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.